welcome back to the Satruday Six. It's an exciting Saturday. This Saturday, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But in theory, there are some good games on the calendar today. I mean, the highlight, of course, is BYU Coastal, a game that came together at the last minute. Thank you, pandemic. But College Game Day is going to be on hand. For what should be, I think both of these teams right now, and we've talked about this, if this is your first time tuning in, I run an advanced stats model. The overall distribution of teams that you can see in beta rank right now, on the website, you can see that normally you would have teams in they're sort of like the Power Five, and then most of the teams after 1 through 65 are going to be group of 5 teams with some usual cast of character Power 5 teams that are kind of the exception, right? Like Vanderbilt. They're going to fall down pretty low. This year, you still see some of that. You still see a lot of group of 5 teams, in that bottom half. But you also, because the model hasn't really seen a lot of non-conference games, you also see a lot more group of 5 teams towards the very top. And it without any, the conferences that are not playing any non-conference games. I mean, the Pac-12 has played one, Colorado and San Diego State. But the Big Ten, the SEC, we just don't have any reference points for these conferences against other competition. I'm still leaving in even for the teams, normally after 6 games, beta rank, I go full in-season data only. The model performs well. I get no additional predictive power from including out-of-season data. And I know that a lot of, one of the major complaints, I know people that do include that, because there are some models out there that do get better with preseason data included. I know that folks that do include that often take a lot of heat for doing it. It's not because I'm not afraid to take some heat from fans that might not like whether a team is ranked, clearly. But I am, for me, it all comes down to whether I can predict games better. And I including things like recruiting rankings, it just doesn't help improve how the model predicts. But this year, I'm keeping some preseason projection weight in there to try to keep some semblance of how the distribution might have fallen. It does get a little complicated in that, I mean, it does get a little complicated in that we also have as we head towards bowl season, trying to figure out what that's going to look like heading into bowl season is going to be even more complicated. I'm going to see how it shakes out after bowl season. Going into bowl season, I'm probably going to end up just increasing the preseason weight in there to try to get some semblance of the distribution. That way BYU doesn't end up, or Coastal doesn't end up as like a huge favorite against some Power 5 team that they draw in a bowl game. Should be fun to see. I don't know. It's a giant... This season is a bit of a mess to get through right now. In general, we didn't have as many cancellations or postponements this week, which is nice. But it's also, I mean, this season is a particular mess, I think, for advanced stats without the non-conference games in there to help us really get a full picture. I think if you've ever, and maybe I'll retweet it out, if you've ever looked at a topology, which is a mathematical map of how the college football season plays out, you end up with a lot of, nodes with, the nodes end up being the teams. If you map out the schedule on a topology, and then you end up with these edges, these lines, connecting the teams, you end up roughly, a topology will create clusters that are conferences naturally, because those are where you have the highest number of edges together connecting a group. And then you have other edges, connecting these groups together. You can see how the data is highly clustered data. This season, there just aren't a lot of edges connecting groups. So it ends up, your data ends up incredibly siloed. Anyway, that's an aside. I'm excited. We are cruising towards, conference championships and the inevitable. It feels almost inevitable, because I think it's very much driven at the moment by TV partners. I think if it had purely been, conference presidents making the call, I think you might have seen a little more flexibility about when the championship games actually took place. But because TV partners have contracts, for, after college football for things that they expect to be airing, they want college football to basically get done and get their money's worth out of it in the time that they paid for. So college football right now is on a fairly tight schedule. So we are going to get, it feels like a very TV partner driven game, that might bring in some casual fans. Alabama versus LSU, on name recognition alone. Us getting this game makes almost no sense, other than if you really want Bo Pelini to only be a 1-year DC, because that, Alabama should, barring, having a multi turnover performance, should absolutely wipe the floor with LSU this year. So I don't know. We'll see how this all goes, with some of these games today. But I'm excited even for the short notice games. I mean, the teams that, BYU and Coastal for the most part been able, have played a lot of games on their schedule. They should be in pretty regular form, even without being able to prepare specifically for an opponent. What you'll see is that and what we've seen in these, really short, other than the, Cal UCLA debacle, but on these very short notice games, teams just tend to lean into what they do, right? They're going to lean into what they do best, and not have, a lot of opponent specific, stuff dialed up. So, we'll see. I'm interested. I think this should be this should be a really terrific game to be able to get our eyes on. And that Colorado San Diego State game wasn't, it wasn't always the most beautiful football you've ever seen, but I don't think that was necessary. I think that was more to do with Colorado and San Diego State and less to do with football in general being played on short notice. Those opponent adjustments are nice to see. It's part of what makes football interesting, what the coordinators and what the coaching staff can come up with as a surprise during the week. We have, you're not going to see that on real short notice preparation. So, let's, as we close in on, the conference championships and what should be pretty, some pretty fun matchups, and something to keep an eye on though as we head down towards this is there are some games that are walking a wire, if you will, a tightrope on getting in the required number of games to be able to qualify for their conference championships according to the rules that were set down by the conferences at the beginning of the year. I just closed on a house on Monday. I took the week off of work to do an enormous amount of work on that. Not that, it's a nice house. It does, however, I did buy a little bit of a fixer upper, so I'm doing that fixing upping, which is actually ideal for me because I would rather not buy somebody else's renovation. Anyway, so if unless the conferences this week, unbeknownst to me, have changed that, Ohio State and Clemson are both, really needing to, get the number of, keep getting games in order to qualify, for their conference championship games. In a lot of ways, I think this was put in as a protection, for the good teams, in the divisions, hoping that, that a team that, they beat, or, a team wouldn't just be able to qualify if they missed them due to the pandemic. They wouldn't, if that game got canceled, that head-to-head game got canceled, they wouldn't just be able to qualify based on, having a, high winning percentage. It has, however, I think backfired a little bit in that it's not protecting the best team. It's actually putting them on a very, very tight path to walk to be able to get in. So we'll see if my guess is Ohio State, sort of they must have been pulling in some guys that, wouldn't normally play to be able to make it up to this game at Michigan State. That is absolutely something to keep an eye on here is what does Ohio State look like? What does their roster look like heading into this? Normally what we've seen when a team themselves is affected by COVID, you normally see them miss 2 weeks instead of one. Ohio State can't afford to miss 2 weeks. So they, at this point, they really, in addition, so they had already missed a week because of an opponent canceling. They really need to make sure to play. In order to do that, I have a hunch that this roster got pretty interesting. So the Buckeyes should still be a favorite. My guess is they'll be a much tighter favorite, than Beta Rank has them, or would normally have them, or has them in this. So keep an eye on what that looks like up in East Lansing today. Anyway, let's jump into the games that we got, because this should be a pretty fun week, as I've alluded to. Of course, our headliner on ESPNU is BYU, heading to Coastal Carolina. The number 4 BYU Cougars, Kalani Sitake is your head coach here. Number 10, Coastal Carolina, Jamie Chadwell is your head coach. These teams right now, BYU's offense is really clicking. I don't know that they're number 5. I think they're a top 25 offense for sure. They, Jeff Grimes is the OC here. And they really, they've got some really good numbers across the board. That number 9 in drive efficiency, and number 2 in explosive drives in particular stand out. They've been able to put together long drives. They've also been able to put together big plays. Their negative drives number's good. Not too many 3 and outs, not too many negative outcomes for the offense. A little bit of a run pass split. Zach Wilson's really been their headliner at QB. And he's done a terrific job. I'm excited to see them against this Coastal offense. Chad Staggs is your DC here. 18 overall. They are a little bit better. They really do prevent you from putting together long drives and driving the length of the field. They do give up a few more big plays, and the number that really stands out to me here, the one that might hold them back, is their negative drives number. They're just not really forcing enough 3 and outs. So they tend to contain big plays and force you to try to use the length of the field, but giving up a few too many first downs and allowing teams to get going. Literally no run pass split to speak of here. So, for them, the key is going to be trying to contain Zach Wilson in this BYU air attack. On the other side of the ball, this Coastal offense is pretty good too, and they're fun to watch. You will see similar play design as I have both Coastal and Oregon ran a jump pass to the tight end that went for a touchdown on the same day. Just beautiful play, very similar plays. With a play action jump pass to the tight end. Anyway, so the Willie Corns, your OC here, they're a better, they're a little bit more of a power running team. They're at 28 in effective pass. They are an explosive team, for a rushing team as well. Where they struggle a little bit, comparatively in their stats, is they do give up they do go 3 and out a little more often than you'd like. They could be a little more efficient in their drive efficiency, being able to put together long drives. That's a little bit of play calling and execution on their part. BYU's defense, Ayasa Tuiaki, I can't even read my own handwriting. Tuiaki, I really think I had it last night on the pronunciation. My own handwriting betrays me yet again. But where BYU's defense is excellent is at drive efficiency. They prevent you from driving, the length of the field. They are susceptible to big plays, so keep an eye on that here with this more explosive Carolina offense, Coastal offense. If their play efficiency is not great, they do give up a decent yards per play. They force 3 and outs and turnovers, and that's key. BYU's, this is somewhat true for Coastal too, but BYU's level of competition has been abysmal. So they're mostly facing, teams throwing the ball. For defense in beta rank, the effective rush and effective pass numbers are calculated at the margin. For offense, they're not, because I want to find out what the offense is actually going to try to do. They hold the ball, they have the initiative, and they make the choice. So I don't calculate it at the margin for them. So for the defense, though, it makes sense to calculate it at the margin. That's I say this because like in beta rank you won't see something quixotic, like some really quixotic weird number where I what you really want to know is what the offense is going to try to do and what you have to stop them in order to beat them, and you'll find out that like Navy has the most, is the best passing team in America, and you're like, that's because they're running the ball 95% of the time. Everybody's surprised when it's a pass, against the middies. So BYU, they are better against the run. So this should be a really good matchup to, this side of the ball here in particular. BYU's been a lot stronger against the run than they have against the pass. Seeing if they can slow down this coastal rushing attack should be a lot of fun to see. And it's BYU has a 69% win probability in this game in the model. This is actually the least close of the games we have today in the model. So Tom Allen and Indiana come into Madison against the Wisconsin team that what a bummer for Paul Chryst. Wisconsin's offense has been really good. Joe Rudolph's your OC here. They had mostly made it through their issues that they had at quarterback with injuries, and having to play the backup. Unfortunately, of course, they had that five turnover outing at Northwestern, which totally doomed them. But the offense, they've been a very efficient offense. They have been able to put together long drives, be able to put up points. That's a testament to the offensive line, the play calling, the execution. Where they struggle has been putting up big plays. A few too many 3 and outs. They do really need to clean some of this up, I think. If Wisconsin is able to take advantage of the rule that the holiday on eligibility this year, they're gonna have a lot of quality play. I mean, not everybody's gonna have a lot of people coming back. They're gonna have a lot of quality coming back. Unsurprisingly, big run pass play with Wisconsin, a lot better running the ball than they are throwing the ball. Indiana, this is part of why this game is on here. Indiana's been such a surprise defensively. They brought back a lot on defense. I said this was really the year that Kane Womack, their DC, really needed to put it together. They, for the most part, have. I mean, their defense has been significantly better than they had been last year, and are really carrying the team at this point. The drive efficiency number is solid. Where they make their hay, though, is that they force 3 and outs, they force negative outcomes. Their play efficiency is pretty good, limiting yards per play. They're better against the run than they are against the pass, but that pass number is not bad. I mean, it's not going to crush them. So you get to watch a pretty good run defense up against a pretty good run offense here. That should be certainly something to keep an eye on in this game. You flip it around, though, and this is surprising because Indiana for the past couple of years has been an offense for a squad. New OC this year, Nick Sheridan, the former Michigan quarterback. It's not clicking, really as much, and that's something that I think I am a little surprised at. Penix has been pretty good. I mean, I shouldn't say has been fantastic. He's been pretty good. He's been a lot better through the air. But this Indiana team, if you look through here, they are really, really struggling to run the football. And if you're going to have a run pass split like this wide, you have to be able to throw the ball like an air raid. I mean, this kind of run pass split as you normally see for a team that really leans into to throwing the ball. Even a team like USC that is air raid-ish, or Oklahoma that is air raid-ish, right? Like their passing concepts are predominantly air raid. They're and they may run the ball more. They're just, you have to be in the top 10 throwing the football to be this bad at running the football. So Indiana's got some work cut out for them, particularly at running the ball scheme wise. Their negative drive number really hurts. Too many 3 and outs. They need to find a way to be able to stay on the field, show up into the first set of downs with a better plan. Wisconsin's defense has been really good. Jim Leonard is your play caller here. Number one in drive efficiency. They do really, force you to, if you have to drive the length of the field, you're going to struggle with it. They need to clean up big plays a little bit. 34 in explosive drives. They are good at forcing 3 and outs. This side of the ball is likely not going to be as good of a matchup, though, Wisconsin turns the ball over, like they did against Northwestern. they could really, they could gift Indiana with some field position to be able to put up some points. So it's been a pretty magical season for Indiana. I don't know if that's going to continue today. I would expect the Badgers, who have a 90% win probability, unless they turn the ball over 3 or 4 times, they should be able to win this game. Indiana's offense just doesn't have it this year. This is a great matchup on this side of the ball. In comes Iowa State, in comes West Virginia, into Iowa State, into Ames. Neil Brown's your head coach, versus Matt Campbell for the Cyclones here. The offense under Tom Manning for Iowa State has really been pretty good this year, and you want to give them credit. They've taken a bit of a step forward. They're a very explosive offense. They're not super efficient on their drive efficiency, so they do lean into trying to create big plays, sort of a home run lineup, if you will, versus hitting a lot of singles. Their negative drives number, though, is solid. They do find a way to create first downs. They show up with a good plan when they get the ball. Not a big run pass split either, so they're balanced, and that is terrific. I mean, if you have Brock Purdy and you can be balanced, you've really got something going, because you can use him out of play action a lot. This West Virginia defense, we've talked about this a couple times because we've covered a couple games that they've been playing. They've been excellent. Jamila Dye is your play caller here. Really just all the credit in the world to the job this defensive staff has done, having to replace Vic Koenig as he departed in the offseason. They are good at limiting long drives. Pretty good at explosive plays. Their negative drives number solid at number 18. Better against the pass than they are against the run, but this Mountaineer defense is the calling card of this team here right now. And Adai should be it will eventually be in line for a head coach. If this keeps up, will eventually be in line for a head coaching job on his own, the way this is going. So other side of the ball, so West Virginia's offense just is really struggling. Jared Parker's your OC here. Their drive efficiency number is just nightmarish. They simply are not able to put together long drives because of play calling execution issues. They're better at big plays. They do show up. I mean, their negative drives number here, they do find a way to get first downs. So they're able to get, at least help their defense with a little bit of field position. But really a tremendous struggle for them. They really do need to pick up running the ball or lean into throwing the ball better than they have. When you look at this run pass split, Iowa State, this defense has been very good. John Heacock is your play caller here. They're in particular, if you look at this run defense, they are excellent stopping the run. They're a little vulnerable versus the pass. So when they do play teams that tend to lean into and excel at throwing the ball, they have needed a few turnovers in order to finish out and win the game. But their negative drives number solid. They're where they really stand out though is their drive efficiency. They do excel at keeping teams from going the length of the field. I'm interested to see this this matchup here. I think West Virginia, it's hard to say they're going to have any sort of advantage, but Iowa State's susceptible enough against the pass to potentially, be able to let this West Virginia team in this game a little more than maybe you might expect. Iowa State has an 86% win probability here, so West Virginia probably needs 2 to 3 turnovers in order to win this game. Whoops. This one. Shoot. Coffee. Too much renovation, not enough coffee. I was holding a floor sander all yesterday. I feel like my entire body is still vibrating. So in comes we've got a pretty fun matchup. One of which is like I just can't wait to see what Arizona State is like after 3. They played 1 game and they've had 3 weeks off. UCLA somewhat seems to be clicking. I think that they are. They've had some advantage in that they got Cal on very short notice. Cal's first game. I mean, that game Cal looked atrocious. Cal's looked better. I mean, they've lost both games, but since, but they looked a lot better since in how they played than they did against UCLA. UCLA, their Chip Kelly's your head coach. Herm Edwards is the head coach for the Sun Devils. The offense for UCLA, Kelly's your play caller here. They've been solid at drive efficiency. They've really leaned into running the football. Dorian Thompson-Robinson's missed, 2 games. I'm interested to see if he's back, at the starting quarterback job, because he should be available for this game. But they struggle to put up big plays. They're not terribly explosive at this point. And they do come out with a pretty good plan. They tend to avoid 3 and outs. Arizona State, we've only seen them 1 game. They had a decent game containing, USC's offense. USC's offense, of course, feels like a giant self-inflicted wound at this point. And we can at some point, I'll try to cover the Trojans again, and we can talk about why they seem to not want to make the personnel choices that would allow them to flourish. Anyway, but this defense we projected to be pretty good for the Sun Devils. Antonio Pierce, Marvin Lewis, but I believe Antonio Pierce is calling the plays. They both have the DC designation. Their explosive drives number is pretty good. It's 1 game's worth of data, so a lot of this is still a ton of preseason weight for the Sun Devils right here. I'm really interested to see what this defense really looks like here, against UCLA. This UCLA offense has feasted a bit on some inferior competition that they have played thus far, and I include Oregon's defense, which has been god awful. So I'm interested to see. We projected Arizona State's defense to be pretty solid, particularly against the run and in the front 7. I want to see them because UCLA has really, made their hay, running the football, and their little mini renaissance that they've had this season. Other side of the ball, I don't know. So we've got Zach Hill as your OC here for Arizona State, going up against a suddenly resurgent Jerry Azzinaro and the Bruins defense. They were god awful last year, particularly defending the pass. They're not great still. I mean, 48's nothing to be super proud of. But the improvement that they have is something you should absolutely be proud of. Their drive efficiency is where they've really nailed it so far. But they've got a decent explosive drives. Their negative drives, they've struggled. They simply aren't creating enough 3 and outs as you'd expect. But the I do want to call out Odigizua, their defensive lineman, is having an All-American type year. He's really been terrific for them, incredibly disruptive. They have blitzed a lot more than they have in the past. So, they have brought pressure. Arizona crumbled under the pressure last week. Arizona had has offensive line issues that are absolutely tanking their season right now. UCLA took full advantage of that last week. They get Zach Hill and the Arizona State offense. I don't know what to make of them, and I said that coming into the season. I still don't know what to make of them after 1 game. We didn't expect them to be great. They weren't very good last year, prompting the coordinator change to Hill. I was interested to see what they actually looked like with Hill, running a more complicated offense than they had run the year before. They really, and Daniels, he sucked in the first game. His downfield accuracy was awful. And it wasn't just the young wide receivers, which I think a lot of people put it on. His actual accuracy on balls that were going more than 7.5, 10 yards down the field was just terrible. So I'm interested to see. He had accuracy issues last year. Is some of that cleaned up? Guys should be more open than they were against USC. So hopefully he can hit some of those guys. But Hill's going to run some 2 tight end sets. I am interested because also with UCLA's blitzing, Arizona State has a cobbled together, offensive line a bit. Are they able to hold it together here? Some of these numbers here down the right side, these are products still of only having 1 game in the books for the Sun Devils. So what this offense actually ends up being good at, with more than 1 game in the data set, then, they could be real rusty. Practice becomes limited too, due to COVID. So this game, ASU, because they're at home, has a 55% win probability in beta rank. It's a real tough game to get a handle on, given how long the Sun Devils have been out. I mean, it almost feels like a totally new start to the season for them at this point. The Mike Gundy experiment rolls on. Experience, not experiment. He's been around a while. It's not an experiment at this point. Oklahoma State rolls in. Gary Patterson, also a Big 12 institution. And we get, what's interesting, I think, here is that you get an Oklahoma State team that for the second year of the row, the offense is really kind of stinking it up. Last year with Gleason, it really didn't work out. Him moving to Rutgers, I think, was, a good move, I thought, for both the Cowboys and Rutgers. But man, it hasn't picked up. Casey Dunn's your new play caller here. He's been on staff. Their drive efficiency number is just awful. Again, they're just struggling to throw the football. I mean, this is something that Oklahoma State really used to hang their hat on. I think Gundy's probably maybe going to have to make another change at OC. And it's something that he had really been excellent at, was making that particular hire, given the revolving door he somewhat had at offensive coordinator, because of how good the Pokes were. But they've got some of their work cut out for them here, because TCU's defense is, again, under Patterson, pretty effective. Their drive efficiency number does leave something to be desired. Like, you can go the length of the field. Luckily enough, Oklahoma State stinks at going the length of the field against anyone. But they do contain big plays. They do force some 3-and-outs. No big run pass split for the Frogs here. On the other side of the ball, this Oklahoma State defense, which we talked about coming into the year, that they really needed to take a step forward. They have under Jim Knowles. They brought a lot back. This needed to be the year, and it could have been a big year for Oklahoma State if the offense had been able to hold it together and deliver, and they just couldn't. But the defense has held up their end of the bargain. You can drive the length of the field against this Oklahoma State defense, but they make up for it by not giving up big plays, by forcing 3-and-outs. So if you're TCU, you want to try to get some momentum going here, because Oklahoma State, when that happens, when teams are able to get it going offensively, they have struggled to get off the field at points. Oklahoma State's better against the pass than they are against the run. TCU's offense has been yet again a struggle. It's probably past time for Patterson to make a change at OC. Sonny Cumbie, it's just not really working out again. They're a lot better running the ball than they are against the pass, or than they are throwing it. They struggle with drive efficiency, putting together long drives to put up points. And again, drive efficiency comes down to play calling and execution. They're a little better with explosive drives, in their play efficiency, but negative drives again. I mean, just too many 3-and-outs. So this offense is not great. This should be a real close game, though. I mean, the matchup here of two good defenses. It may not be, if you like offensive football, it may not be the most fun game to watch, but should be a good one. Oklahoma State's got a 52% win probability here on the road. It's been a while since we talked about Auburn. Mostly because they're not great. A&M, with Jimbo Fisher and Auburn with Gus Malzahn. This game, it does, like, these teams are a little further apart in the rankings than you might expect me to be covering here, but mostly like the rankings condense a little bit as you get towards the middle of the distribution. So A&M doesn't have a huge win probability in this game. The offense for Fisher, and he's still really calling plays, has not been great this year. I mean, they've got some work to do. They've fallen off a little bit. Their drive efficiency number and explosive drives in particular, just not enough big plays. They're not really able to put together long drives. Their play efficiency is pretty good. Negative drives is solid at 37, but certainly could be better. I mean, some of this also could be a reflection of some of the distributional problems we talked about. The entire SEC might be bumped up a little bit once we actually get to see them in some non-conference games. Auburn's defense with Kevin Steele, they've been they've been okay. They lost a lot off of last year's excellent unit. So we did expect them to take a little bit of a step back coming in. So this isn't totally unexpected. Their drive efficiency number is probably their best, of the big numbers in beta rank. But where they struggle is they're just not creating enough 3 and outs, not enough turnovers. They really need to be more effective in creating trouble for the offense. No big run pass split for them. On the other side of the ball, Auburn's offense again has struggled with Bo Nix at quarterback. Chad Morris really is not quite getting it done, calling plays for them. No big run pass split. They really just struggle to put up big plays is their main problem, and they just need to be a lot more explosive. And Malzahn really should, after 2 years of really pretty ineffective offensive play, be looking to retool in the offseason, bring in some new ideas. Morris was supposed to help with that. We'll see. Malzahn, he is starting to feel a little bit like a little bit stuck in his ways offensively. Defensively, Mike Elko with this Texas A&M defense, this has been the better unit, carrying the Aggies a little bit here. Their explosive drives number and play efficiency, negative drives are really where they hang their hat. So not giving up big plays, limiting yards per play, forcing some 3 and outs. You can put together long drives against this A&M defense. They're a lot better against the run, than they are against the pass. So this is something, to keep an eye on. If Auburn can maybe get the passing game going, the Aggies could be a little bit more vulnerable to that. A&M's got a 74% win probability in this game. This is a game that Auburn may only need 1 or 2 turnovers or just some, a really bad day by A&M to be able to go ahead and win. So I have this. This is actually Auburn's. Actually, this says A&M at Auburn. It's actually Auburn at A&M. Oh man. Anyway, so let's wrap it up. It should be a fun week. I'm excited to see some of these games here. And again, there's a lot of uncertainty out there as we cruise towards the conference championships. And really, no one with the playoff looming, there's no one can really afford to slip up. If Alabama traditionally has not had the kind of 5 turnover performances that seem to plague Big Ten teams in particular. Ohio State's had a few over the years. Wisconsin just had one. Alabama traditionally has not had the kind of 5 turnover monstrosity egg that can allow a really inferior team to come in and beat you. But that kind of thing could really throw a wrench, into, and really, throw even more chaos potentially into the playoff, where we're already sort of baking in that the Big 12 is likely out of it. The Pac-12 at this point with Oregon, really bottoming out. Washington looks very good. I don't know that I would say, I would not say Washington looks like a team I would want to put in the playoff at this point. USC certainly doesn't. It does look like pretty wide open for that 4th playoff spot. Somebody's got to get taken apart by Bama. So then, and really that 4th playoff spot could also be, we're sort of also baking in the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes could, be vulnerable. I don't know that Michigan State's going to get it done even against the 2nd stringers for Ohio State. They might get it done against the 3rd stringers though, or some walk-ons. What does this Ohio State team look like? They might have a thin margin and better not turn the ball over up in East Lansing. Against what has been a pretty decent Michigan State defense. I like their defensive coordinator that they got in from Kansas State. He had been the DC at Wyoming and had done a really terrific job. Scotty Hazelton, I can see his picture and his name is escaping me. Mel Tucker made a really good hire there. And they do have occasions of wild and weird offensive competence, with lots of offensive incompetence muddled in. But that I think if there's a game that we didn't cover that I would keep an eye on, it's definitely that one. It could go a lot of ways because we're not really sure what that Ohio State roster is going to end up really being. So that's really the football for this week. Again, I'll have beta rank updated, usually by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. and I'll tweet that out from, mine and as well as from Sharp College Football. Let's go ahead and do the yakety yak. So I'm Rob Bowron, the econometrician chicken behind BetaRank. You can find all the advanced stats you saw and a lot more at sharpcollegefootball.com. I'm at BetaRank, FB, and at Sharp College Football. We have a Pac-12 podcast at 12 Pack Radio. We did release another one of our scheme. There's a scheme show that we're mixing in, and the guys just do a terrific job. If you're interested in scheme and X's and O's covering the Pac-12, I recommend giving that a listen. And you find all the back episodes of Pac-12 Radio or 12 Pack Radio at sharpcollegefootball.com/12 Pack Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the games. I will see you again next week, and stay safe out there.